So there's a lot of conversations about, oh, I'm so glad I left the relationship finally. I should have left earlier. There's a lot of conversations about finally having non-negotiables, right? Having the courage to leave something that isn't honest to you. But there isn't a lot of conversation about leaving a relationship, being unsure of it, and then wondering if you even made the right decision, right? And I think we don't talk about this because it's embarrassing, because we could be wrong that we left, because there may be some guilt, some shame, self-bashing. When we talk about relationships as in, oh, I finally left, it could be very power filled, right? Um if we talk about relationships as, oh, we broke up, I I don't know if I made the right decision, it feels powerless. And so people don't want to talk about that. And that's why today we're going to talk about it. I'll be honest, I've been in relationships that I've left and wondered if I made the right decision, of course. And I think this is also just like natural. It's a big part of the breakup process. You know, leaving a relationship can feel like stepping off a cliff. Sometimes it's freedom, and other times it's a free fall. When uncertainty sets in, the key is not to rush back to what's familiar out of fear or loneliness or nostalgia. And we'll get into some of this. But instead, it's about the pause, trusting what felt honest to you. Let the dust settle. And that's not a week. It's not a few days. Also, it doesn't have to be 6 years, right? I think each breakup is different, is unique. Let the withdrawal symptoms, and they are real because you just did life with someone, right? Let them subside, because if you don't let them subside, your lenses will be foggy. So let them subside before you try to label your decision. And I think this is the most important piece, right? Because we are, or we may be pulling from um, like a murky residue place. We might, like, just as a knee jerk, feel like, did I make the right decision? Not because you didn't or did, but because that's just like the natural pattern of making a huge life decision and wondering if you did the right thing. So it doesn't matter if we're talking about, I don't know, buying a house or leaving a marriage. Big life decisions come with the question, did I make the right decision? And so some of this doesn't even have to do with the relationship, right? Some of it is just kind of like natural knee jerk. Was there a pattern or emotional availability? Was there a pattern of emotional inability? People who can't hold a safe space, where the fight's toxic. Was the were the ruptures able to be repaired, not just from its parts. So not just from you and your ex, but also like as a couple, because one person might have the ability, capacity, the tools to repair rupture, and the other person may not. And if the other person doesn't, well, every relationship is, there's two people involved, right? Or was it fear, stagnation, commitment issues, maybe trauma, driving the exit? So, like, all these reasons why relationships end. It could be two people just outgrowing each other. Maybe values don't line up, or maybe something that was honest to you and what you wanted before is no longer. This actually happens a lot when uh, kids leave the house. When our kids grow up and they're gone, I mean, there's no colder shower. There's no greater black light on the relationship, because now you're faced with no distractions. Now the person you are sharing a bed with, you have to look at, and also yourself and the relationship, right? So I want to give you a couple pointers if you are in this space of uh, ending a relationship and then thinking, did I make a mistake? And that relationship could be, you dated somewhere for 6 months, or it could be a marriage. It doesn't matter. So the first step is, don't panic. Don't panic. I think when you are panicking, you're allowing yourself to be in a reactive space, right? With panic comes protection. With protection comes this reaction. And so just taking a breath and not panicking. Sit with the discomfort. Don't confuse pain with regret. Just because you feel pain and heartbreak doesn't mean, oh shit, what have I done? Did I make the wrong decision? Of course, you're going to feel pain. Avoid rushing to connect just to relieve the ache. So whether you're connecting with someone else or you're running back to your ex, a lot of people do this. They have so much pain and heartbreak that they can't sit with, maybe because they're not used to, and so they rush back and make everything okay, so so they don't have to feel the pain anymore. And that is not enough to be in a relationship. And also, you're now taking someone hostage, right? It's not fair to that person you're choosing to love. Reflect on your reasons for leaving. I think it's helpful to just write them down. Not to make this a logical process, but there's something about seeing it on paper that may convince you. Was it from unmet needs? Was it from emotional exhaustion? Was it even fixable? Was it just two people who have really loved each other before, but just are on a different path? People change, right? Love changes. What we want changes. Separate emotion from clarity. What's happening right now is a lot of emotion, and we should not be making decisions based on that emotion, or even coming to conclusions based on that emotion, because those emotions, they come, they go. They're like this formless thing, right? Just because you're hungry today doesn't mean you're going to be hungry in 2 hours from now. So see emotions as just natural, like the ebb and flow, like the ocean, right? Coming and going. Don't try to judge it. Don't try to attach meaning. Feel your way through this space. You can miss someone, and you could also know that the relationship wasn't right. Most of my relationships didn't end in a I hate you, or get out of my life kind of way. They ended with love. They were very sad, and of course I missed that person, or I have missed that person. But that doesn't mean that I want to go back and build a life with that person, right? So you could miss that person. And also, you could break up with someone and realize like how amazing the connection was, or the sex was, or the chemistry was. And even with that, doesn't mean that you want to build a life with someone, right? You just have to know the difference between missing someone, craving someone, longing for someone. And of course, all of that can be explored to see where that's coming from, if it's coming from a healthy place or not. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes we miss someone because they filled our holes, right? They give us something that maybe we should be giving ourselves. The difference between that and knowing that the relationship didn't have legs, knowing that it could only go so far, or it was a ceiling, or you guys are drifting because you're no longer abandoning self, you know? So if that's the case, like, sometimes relationships aren't fixable, even if you want to fix the relationship. If two people are living in a way that's honest to them, and by doing so that creates drift, well, the breakup is inevitable. Withdrawal is real. Don't mistake it for a sign, right? All right, a few more things. Be honest about your patterns. Do you tend to leave when things get hard? I gotta be honest, I do, for sure. Um, I get into relationships fast, and they're always like 3 years or so. But around that 3 years, I usually leave. Um, right now, the relationship I'm in now. My partnership it's been 7, so I definitely have stayed. But yes, I have that knee jerk to find that exit. Sure. Or do you have a pattern of staying too long, hoping they'll change? This is actually very common. People stay because there's potential. People stay because they don't want to be alone, and people stay because um, they're hoping that their partner changes. You know, So track your history. The pattern isn't the problem, it's the unawareness of it, right? We all have patterns. We all have patterns, but it's being aware of the patterns. That's the work. It's not about us not having patterns anymore because we're also going to create new patterns, and some may be healthy and some may not. Grieve what could have been. This is a big one. One of the hardest things about breakups is the secondary loss. When I first got married, uh, I think what was so devastating was I thought that was it. So we were, young and running toward the picket fence and having a kid, a dog, a house, right? Church on Sundays. We were running toward this kind of this poster I was tracing, or what I thought we were supposed to do in life once you find a partner and get married. So that being taken away was also part of the divorce, right? So it wasn't just that my that I lost my wife or that I lost a marriage, but it was me losing the future, all the stuff that was supposed to happen, quote unquote, right? And so that's secondary loss. And for many, they put more weight on that. For many, that loss is more crippling than the actual relationship itself. And if that's the case, then that tells you something, right? Part of the conclusion may come from mourning the potential, not the reality. Let yourself feel that sadness, without turning it into a self-blame. All right, next one, reassess your standards and values. Now that you have distance, what actually matters to you in a partnership? And this changes, and it should change. Like what matters to you today should be very different than what mattered to you, say, in your early 20s, right? If there's no difference, that kind of worries me. It worries me because it means that you haven't changed. There should definitely be a difference. I mean, unless unless you're in your early 20s, last year, that's different. Did this relationship align with your life you're building or pull you off your course? That word alignment is it's popular, it's common. I use it often. But yeah, people can look, think about the people that you went to high school with, right? And think about the people that you go way back with, childhood friends. Are you guys aligned today as 40-year-olds or in your 30s or even 50s? Maybe, but probably not. We we change. What we want changes, and the alignment may have been honest then, um, but maybe not today. And the same thing happens in long-term relationships. You could have been very aligned in the early days, and that alignment uh, over time could slowly drift, and today you're just not aligned anymore. Next one, don't confuse loneliness for longing. The sudden quiet can feel brutal, but it's not proof you made a mistake. Sometimes we go back just because being alone is unfamiliar. I spent about a stretch of 4 years being quote unquote single on purpose, and this is why I wrote this book. I spent, well, initially I started it. I didn't want I didn't want to be single on purpose. I didn't want to be single at all. But once I realized I actually need to be alone, right? Once the on purpose kicked in with intention, I actually spent a lot of time by myself because it was scary, because I wasn't used to it, because I'm used to doing something with someone, whether that's dinner, movie. I mean, being anxiously attached, right? Swinging in that way. And of course, I'm a lot less today as I was in my 20s, but I wanted to be with my girlfriend or wife or whoever I was with all the time. I wanted to drown in them, and so to be alone was what was prescribed. Um, that was why buying a motorcycle was nice, because I mean, I guess you could have a passenger, but it's usually like an alone experience, right? So I rode my motorcycle a lot. Took myself out to dinner a lot, like fancy dinners. I was in diners and coffee shops. I just kind of lived that whole like what I call Keanu Reeves on a park bench eating a sandwich. That was me for 4 years. And I really needed that. It was probably one of the things that helped me the most to create a better relationship with myself and to feel okay just exploring life by myself, you know? And so then when I got into another relationship, what I brought to the table was like this person with a life and who was comfortable with himself, not someone who was grabbing, you know? I was able to hold more instead of grab. Next one, if you're considering reconnecting, you got to do it from a new place. Don't slide back into the same dynamic. Be clear about what you need to change, not what your partner needs to change, because that may never happen. The question I always ask my clients is, what's going to be different this time? What's going to be different? And if the answer is nothing, um, the way that it's going to play out is going to be the same, right? So if nothing changes, nothing changes. And if nothing is different, chances are the relationship will not be sustainable. Just a reconnection might be fiery, and just the comfort of that person, that body, those experiences may feel amazing. But then what's after that? Well, everything that made the relationship fall apart, it's still there. Next one, get curious, not cruel. Instead of attacking yourself with, did I mess this up? Did I make the right decision? Um, Ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? What's on the other side of all of this? What's on the other side of all of this? Growth often hides in our indecision. Next one, understand that there may not be a clear right or wrong. And this is a kind of a hard pill to swallow because we always want to know, is this right? Is this wrong? I mean, since we're getting letter grades in elementary school, there's a right and wrong, right? With relationships, sometimes there's no right or wrong. Maybe you did make the wrong decision. And if you did, then that's your truth. And now what do we do with that, right? What's the learning there? Sometimes decisions are just steps, part of a larger unfolding. And if you did make the wrong decision or feel that you did, there's also a lesson in that, you know? But you can't live there. You can't live there. You can't now dwell on it. You also can't backpedal. And chances are, if you did make the wrong decision, you broke trust, and going back, you might not be able to repair it, right? There has to be a surrender and acceptance to all of this. What matters more than the decision is who you become because of it. This is something I think you should write on your mirror. It's kind of a long sentence, might cover the whole mirror. What matters more than the decision is who you become because of it. I mean, that to me, that just goes. That's applied to life, all of life, not just relationships. And finally, I want to remind you that you are. That peace is your compass, right? Not perfection, not certainty, not even love. The peace, and by peace, I also mean connection to self. If you're not connected to yourself, if you don't have a solid relationship with yourself, then you can't find peace. So peace comes with you having an honest relationship with self. If staying felt like constant anxiety and leaving feels like a hard exhale, you got to listen to that. All right, so here are my final thoughts. Like Jerry Springer's final thoughts. Throwback to the 90s. John Kim's final thoughts. When in doubt, you got to zoom out. Don't just look at the breakup. Look at the whole arc. Did you grow in the relationship? Did it ask you to shrink? Was that relationship aligned? Did it nourish or deplete you? When we zoom out, we stop judging ourselves by the pain of the moment and start honoring the truth of the bigger picture. I think what I want you to walk away with the most is being kind to yourself. And if you are asking yourself, did I make the right decision? Know that that's part of it, that's normal. And it's a fair question, right? Don't beat yourself up because you feel that maybe you didn't. Thank you for listening. And a quick reminder, if you are going through a breakup, I have an amazing community in my single purpose app. And it's like, I don't know, a lunch a month, like 19 bucks a month. And you have access to hundreds of people, like minded people, all trying to connect to themselves first. God, what is wrong with me today? Connect to themselves first. Singleonpurpose.life. We've got a bunch of coaches and me doing lives and groups. But more importantly, it's about engaging with like minded people who are all working on themselves. Thank you for listening. Be well.